My topic for the next 30 minutes is Survey123, and it's impossible to give Survey123 a thorough going over in 30 minutes, but we're going to give it a shot. I have a big slide deck, which I'm not going to cover all of. I'm going to provide it to you so you will have the information and all the links and all the cool help and everything. Thank you to Ishmael Shavite for sharing this with me. He's an awesome guy, and he's kind of one of the big drivers behind Survey123. So I owe it to him for a lot of these links. But so let's go. Let's hit this and see if we can have some fun with it. So Survey123, as many of you are aware, is a tool that uses location-aware smart forms to collect information. So it's a very intuitive user experience. The forms are smart, as in like you can make a selection and that will determine whether you see the next section of selections. You have sophisticated data rules, which are really cool. And it's got some new features sort of built around reporting and connecting up to other systems, which are really, really interesting. And I've actually been participating in an internal Survey123 webinar for the past few weeks, and I have learned an absolute ton about how some of this stuff works, and I hope I have time to show you some of it. So Survey123 is very form-based. So as opposed to something like Collector, which is very map-centric, Survey123 is more about forms. So taking and designing the form that you might formerly have put on a clipboard and taken out into the field with you. So now you're going to build this digital form, which is also going to be location aware and pick up your location on the map, or let you interact with the map to locate features, even do things like draw lines and polygons. So we have a couple of smart form design tools. One is web-based and one is based on using a tool called Survey123 Connect that integrates it with Excel. Okay, so the web designer is the easiest one to use. And once you get the lay of the land with XLS forms, you can get pretty good with using Excel to drive this. I'm told this also works with numbers on a Mac, but I cannot vouch for that because I'm not a Mac user. So if somebody knows that for a fact in the chat, maybe they could throw that out to the group. So the web designer is the easiest way to do this. It's very graphic. It's drag and drop. You decide how many choices you want to put in for forms and add pieces into the map. It's very, very visual. And when this first came out, you really couldn't do very much with the web designer except super basic stuff. Now you can do some really advanced things, and it's pretty awesome. So that's the best way to learn how to use Survey123. We also have some great features now with groups and pages, which allow us to make sections of the survey and put those all together, and then also have multiple pages of the survey. We had some very clever developers and business partners that came up with some ways to get around the fact that we didn't have groups and we didn't have pages in previous releases, but now we do, so that's all supported. And it's also supported in the field apps. Okay, so you can see here in the little video, when you build a new page, it's pretty cool. You have multiple pages, and then you just decide which controls you want to drop onto which page, just like you would decide which controls you want to drop into a section or a group. And then those pages can then be linked together, so you can decide which page you want to appear at any given time as the user is using the survey. We also have these new things called choice grids. These are pretty cool. It's a great way to compact the screen, because whenever we're working on like a phone, especially even on a tablet, but more so on a phone, it becomes really important to maximize screen real estate. So this is a great way to simplify your form and simplify a lot of the choices, and also make it look really less intimidating and easy to use. Other enhancements we have is preventing users from resubmitting surveys. So you might have a survey open in the web browser and the survey open in a device. So we can figure out what's going on. You can say, hey, you know, you've already filled this survey out. Of course, you can always go back in and edit the data after the fact if you need to do that, but that's okay. URL query parameters is some other things, new things that are coming along the line that I've messed around a little bit with. These are ways for you to auto-populate questions upon loading. So by putting these things in the URL, you could like pre-populate, say, the name of the field inspector, be that you, and then the tree type of oak or whatever, anything that you want, or maybe the particular object that you want to immediately come up in the survey. Okay, so this is a great way to fire off a survey with a bunch of things already preloaded. Here's some great links. Like I said, I've got, in addition to what you're seeing, I'm going to have a whole bunch more hidden slides that I will unhide when I create the PDF. And that will give you access to a whole bunch of these other help topics. But here, this is a great article on using query parameters and then editing records that you've already put into a survey that you got to fix up later. The design tools, like I said, we've got these two. We've got the web designer, we got Survey123 Connect. Survey123 Connect is the desktop tool that integrates the XLS form syntax with Excel, at least under Windows. So it lets you create the design, preview it, and then publish it to ArcGIS by editing it in Excel. I will say this, once you touch a survey with Survey123 Connect, it now becomes a Survey123 Connect survey. It is not a web survey, and you cannot use the web designer on it anymore. So once you make that commitment to using some of the more advanced tools that are in Survey123 Connect, then it's sort of like, that's where it lives. And I do not know of any way, I was asked this last week, if there's a way to un-Survey123 Connectify a survey and make it web designer happy again. I don't know if that's even possible, but I was in the process of looking into that. I never got there. Okay, we've got some awesome stuff on YouTube. So if you look for the Survey123 YouTube playlist, there's over 20 video tutorials on doing all sorts of different things in Survey123. It's a great way to learn how to use XLS forms when you're publishing surveys. I have watched probably 14 or 15 of these, so they're really great. I would definitely encourage you to check these out. Some new enhancements that we've got, the grid layouts, like I mentioned, it lets you sort of compact the screen a lot better so that it reacts when, if you were to resize it or put it on a different device, things show up a little better. Pictorial lists, working with polygons and lines, photo watermarks, and some of these other things. The grids, pages, and groups, being able to navigate back and forth between these. So you can see we've got like one page for a case and then another page for evidence here in this police-oriented one, and then the subject. So these all get different pages in the same survey form. I mean, a survey form could get really complicated. This is like the complete opposite of what I showed earlier with quick capture. Okay, it's like slow capture, because you could have 9, in this case, there's 7 pages of stuff to fill out, but that's like a typical incident form, you know, whether there be an arrest or not. You know, that these are all the things that they have to fill out, and so you can organize that in a really smart way. Okay, this will scale to work with a tablet. Looks great on a tablet, and then you open it up on a phone, and it realizes, oh, I'm on a phone now, so I'm going to like resize the screen. So that almost always comes out looking really good. So when you switch from the phone to the tablet view, that comes out. Ishmael did a great blog post on the tricks of the trade with groups, grids, and pages. I can't say this enough. I follow these blogs and these posts on GeoNet that he puts up there, and it's just an amazing way to learn about how to use Survey123. Okay, pictorial lists are selectable images in the form, so you could have like a picture that had sort of hotspots on it that would open up different parts of the survey form, or possibly fill out things in the survey form based on what you want it to do. So this is pretty cool. I have not experimented with this myself. You have to have something that can create an SVG file, so scalable vector graphics, and then you can start working with those. There's a nice blog post on this by Brett Stokes, and talks all about using image maps in Survey123. One of the really interesting things about Survey123 and the way people are using it is a lot of these applications are really not geographical per se. They're just forms. And then it might be tied in with geography in the back or location in the background. So it's pretty interesting. We now support collection of polygons and lines. I will say that Survey123 is certainly not the greatest way to collect that sort of information, but we can do it. And for something that doesn't have to be like super accurate, you're just sort of sketching, it can work really well. So that's something that we have access to now. Updating existing features, this is always a big question. Someone says, well, Survey123 seems to be oriented around collecting new data. So every time I go and open a survey and submit it, it's adding a new feature. Well, what if I've already got information that I want to look at and load? That's not a problem. You leverage this thing called the inbox. So if you have a set of features and you want to pull those features into the Survey123 app and then make changes to their existing values, then you'd leverage this thing called the inbox. Okay, so you pull all those in, make the edits and changes that you want, and then submit the survey, and now those features get changed. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. There's some good posts on that. I think I might have hidden the inbox post just for the presentation, but like I said, I will make sure to unhide all of those slides so you can see those later on. Other enhancements, we've got better support now for GNSS receivers. So just like with Quick Capture, the Bad Elf, Leica, Juniper, Trimble, all of these different GNS receivers coming in. There's a really good article here about using that with Survey123. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. Beyond data collection, we've got a few other things going on. So like feature reports, how do I get the data out? Enterprise integration through webhooks and the developer story. I'm not going to focus a lot on the developer story in depth, but I will show you a couple of things. So feature reports are how we can grab and customize the results of our survey, and we'll do that through a Microsoft Word template. So I'll be able to export that and print that out in like a nice Word template. So these are pretty cool. This is super powerful. People have been asking for this. I remember being in a meeting with Carl, I believe it was, in Providence, and we were talking with folks at Parks, and they really could have used this then, and hopefully they're using it now. So they really wanted some way to create really professional reports. So these can get pretty nice. You're going to pull all that stuff out and then create your report from a Word template. And then we are, yes, working on supporting PDF output, and that's coming. I don't think it's in there yet, even though I know we're well past January 14th. I will have to look. I'm not 100% sure if PDF is supported yet, but it is definitely in the product plan. Okay, so here's a link I included on working with feature reports. This is something that I have been learning about very recently, and that's automation through webhooks and a bunch of other different apps. So this is a growing side of the technology where we're able to hook applications together so they can talk to each other. So this is really pretty interesting. So all these different ways. Two of the biggest ways that we're doing this with Survey123 is with a product called Integramat, and then another one from Microsoft called Power Automate. So Power Automate is the one that I've been messing around with because we have Office 365 accounts here at Esri. So that means I get access to Power Automate. So that's the one that I've been working with. But a lot of people really like Integramat. Ishmael says he likes Integramat better. I don't really know what the differences are, but these are ways for you to take a workflow with Survey123. So for example, say every time Tom Schwartzman submits a survey for some sort of field inspection, I want to get an email. So I could like automate that through Outlook and say that I want that to send me an email automatically every time the survey is submitted from a specific person. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So hopefully I will have time to show you a little bit of that. All right, so we've got some great links here on how to automate email applications, integrating with Integromat, integrating with Power Automate. I've included all those links down here at the bottom. So you will find that. And if you also go onto the learn.arcgis.com site, you will find a training seminar on automating email notifications with Survey123. So that's pretty cool. I think it referenced back, the Power Automate used to be called Flow. It was Microsoft Flow. So now it's called Power Automate. Why, I have no idea. Okay, so what's on the roadmap? A bunch of things, web forms, we're gonna open up the JavaScript API for developers, update notifications, right around the user conference. Hopefully we're gonna see some great presentations from Ishmael and the team on new things on the web forms, be getting more of the capability in Survey123 Connect into the web forms, updating domains. That's been a huge request. People want to be able to do that, and better web accessibility and mapping enhancements by being able to embed like a mobile map package. And then further down the road, pulling images back and forth through the inbox, surveys from templates. That's been a big one, to be able to create like a survey template where you could, like, you know, get a jump start on developing a new survey. Okay, so before I go on to that, let's take a look at some of these tools. So let's go over to here. All right, so I've got some surveys over here in my org. You can see I've got some student surveys, I've got some demo ones I've done. So this is just basically listing them all out. So here's my mobile park inspection form. So I've got this one here. And if I click on that, I can see that I've got all the data that's been coming in, and I can see that here in the form. And if I click on design, it says this is a sample survey for illustrative purposes only and does not support your actual survey. Why is that? That's because I use this in Survey123 Connect. So the way for me to do that is to use Survey123 Connect as a tool and start opening it that way. So if I look at this survey in Survey123 Connect, it shows me the layout that I've got with all of my pieces. But here I would actually open this thing up in an XLS form and look at it through in Microsoft Excel. Now this is an extremely simple form. It has only 3 options in it. And I did that on purpose, not to just cram this whole thing together. But you can see that each element of the survey has a name, and then it decides what field it's going to work with. The choices are all stored in another sheet. So I've got list 1, list 2, list 3. So this is a yes, no. This is what's the violation type? There's too much trash. It's an electrical violation. There's a car parked where it shouldn't be parked. And who's the inspector? So things like that. So that's all done in here in Survey123 Connect. So that's great. If I were to make any changes in here, I would then push that back over, and all I have to do is save the spreadsheet, and it pushes it back through Survey123 Connect back up to the form. Okay. If I do not have a Survey123 Connect form, and I'm simply working with one of my standard surveys, what I'd call a web survey, then I can do that right here. Okay, so here's kind of a fun one, and I sort of stole some of this from Ishmael's seminar that he did for the internal folks. This was kind of like a fun thing to work through. So if you're doing designing the form with the web designer, it doesn't give you that error. It just comes up and says, hey, what are we gonna do here? So what have I got set up? So he wanted us to do this virtual taco day. So since we can't have tacos together as a group, we're going to have to all get together over the web and talk about how much we love tacos. So what have I got? So I've got a text box here. That's a single line text box. So for your name, if I wanted to, I could change that. I could say, hey, I'm going to make another single line text field, and I'm going to put that right under this one. And I'm going to call this one nickname. So I've got your name. And to your nickname, say what do your Friends call you. Keep it clean, please. So I've got my name, my nickname, my email, and how much do you like tacos? Do you like tacos a lot? And then down here I have, well, if you really like tacos that much, how much would you give for a good taco? Okay, so awesome. So let's go ahead and save that. And then I'm going to preview it. So I want to see what that's going to look like. So show this to me in my, just here on the screen. So I'm going to put that in. My friends call me Taco Master, and my name is Mark, and my email is blah@blah.com. How much do you like tacos? If I say I like tacos, whoops, come back please. I say I like tacos that much, that's great. But if I say I like tacos with 5 stars, it comes up and says, oh, really? What would you give for a good taco? And I'll say, oh, you cannot put a price on a good taco. And I'll say, go ahead and register that. But this is like just the preview, so it doesn't actually go. All right, so how did I do that? Well, I did that because when I come up here to how much do you like tacos, I click on my rule button and I say, well, if the rule is set to 5, then I want you to show what would you pay for a good taco? Okay, or if I wanted to, I could say the high price of tacos, which would hide the entire group. Okay, so if I go ahead and I save that one, and then I'm going to publish it. So this is going to publish it up into ArcGIS Online. So it goes into my session. Okay, that's done. So now if we were to go to our Survey123 tool, if I were to open this now, what would happen? Okay, it's going to have the old survey because I've downloaded the old survey here to my desktop. So if I go to the survey here, let me get rid of this so it's not confusing everyone. So this right here is sort of what you would see if I was showing this on like a device. Okay. So if I wanted, what I would have to do here is to go and say, I need to re-download the event registration because there's a new version. Okay, and I can do that for any of my surveys. So if I had my event registration on my device, I could say, you know, go ahead and update that. And if not, I say, no, I already have it, so that's not a problem. Okay, so then I go ahead and run this. And I say, go ahead and collect that. So I'm the Taco Master. My name's Mark. My email is mark@esri.com. I love tacos. And so it says, all right, what would you, I'd pay $20 for a good taco, which is crazy, but you know, that's me, I'm crazy. So I say, go ahead and send that. So now it sends it, and now it's going to be collected over here in my data. So in the data form now, I can go in and I can look at all the data that I've collected for the taco. So you can see I've got like Mark, I've got Tiger Woods collected one from the Waffle House, the choices that they made, that'll percolate in there eventually. And then those all show up, so that's great. Okay, so I've been able to go in and change the web design. I can see what it looks like on my phone if I wanted to. I could go over here to, this is actually my phone. So I could go in here and say, let's do the mobile home park inspection. So let's go open that one up. Open, please, collect. And we can say, this is Mark Scott. I'm doing a mobile home park inspection. I've got an electrical problem. This is at a mobile home park, so maybe it's the pedestal has got loose wires. This is a repeat violator, and we're going to want to go ahead and take a picture of that. So it looks like this guy threw the electrical equipment into the trash. So let's take a picture of that, and then we'll go ahead and send it, and it's going to push it out. Okay, so that's what it looks like on a phone. And then the last thing I'm going to show here is the fact that I've got a Power Automate flow where I'm connecting a spreadsheet, a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, to my survey. So you can see that I've got these submissions that were done here in the 19th, and every time I do a submission, I wanted to add a row into a table in a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that lives in OneDrive on Office 365. Okay, so I grabbed the features, I grabbed the email, how much did you pay for a taco, the time, the XY coordinate, because I'm collecting the location in the background. And then you can see over here, if I go and I open up this spreadsheet, slowly but surely, it's populating this in a table. So Power Automate is grabbing all the information that's coming from my Survey123 form, and not only is it saving it in Survey123 and saving it in my ArcGIS online space, in the folder that I've designated for it, it's also pushing these values out into this Excel spreadsheet. So I could decide how I wanted to deal with this. You can see that some of them, at some point I had enabled location, so it started picking that up. And then today I enabled time, so now it's going to pick the time up. So all of that can be automated. So there's some great documentation in here on using Power Automate, some of the other things that you can do. I also was working with having it automatically email a group. Then I found this morning that the Gmail connector is having some sort of problem. So I've got to figure out what that is. I think they've made some changes to the Gmail connector, and I may have to just completely reload it. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on with Survey123, designing with the web designer, creating it with Survey123 Connect, and then automating workflows with either Integromat or Power Automate. I would encourage you to explore the links in the PDF that I will create. I don't know for sure, but I think that the presentations will be made available here on the hub. For sure, they're going to be made available, but they'll either be here on the hub or on the NEARC page, or maybe both. But rest assured that all the links to all the help documentation and whatnot that I showed you is going to be in the presentation when I press it.